I'm getting real tired of rich-ish people saying how good Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Mercedes and BMWs and all these cars are. It might be nice. It might be luxurious. It might be fairly quick. But it's a giant piece of crap. If a car can't go more than a few thousand miles without needing thousands of dollars in maintenance, it sucks. It's a piece of crap. I don't have any interest in that. Say it with me, for we walk by faith, not by sight. Good morning or evening or afternoon or night or whatever it is for you. I feel like Truman. I'm going to change the channel up just a little bit. The content that I'm making is not quite always to the quality I want, and I'm kind of a little bit held up sometimes by it being rainy, which it's a little today. It's cloudy and we're going to have some rain here in just a little bit. But that has kind of held me up a little bit, and I'm held up some too by being able to get parts in. My last video was kind of about that. Just can't get parts for the projects I'm trying to work on. I order something and wait a month or two for it to come in, and it's getting a little bit ridiculous on parts. Bicycle stuff too. So I decided to add bicycles to the channel. In terms of like maintenance stuff for them, because I like teaching maintenance things. If I can ever grow this, that's something I want to do, is teach auto maintenance. And I could also teach bicycle maintenance, because kids have bicycles too, right? Or hey, maybe you're a dad and you don't got a bunch of money, but you can order the part online and I can teach you how to mount it and get it working on the bike better, right? So just maintenance. All maintenance is good. So that's one channel change. Here and there you're going to see some bicycles to go along with the car stuff. They're cheap old bikes. The main change to the channel that is coming along because of winter weather and different things, and to up my production quality. There's still going to be 2 videos a week. The first video a week, so my videos have been Wednesday and Saturdays. I might move them to like Tuesday and Friday evenings. I'm not sure on that yet. I'm thinking about that and doing some research and stuff, see what works out best. My first video, the earlier in the video week, will be this format. So I'll either be here talking or in the garage talking, but it'll mainly be me talking about something that's going on in the automotive world, or a viewpoint that I have, or a disagreement that I have about what someone said on their channel and different things like that, right? And that's what this first video is going to be. These videos are admittedly quicker and easier to make. I just got to sit down, record myself talking for a bit, or like walk around the garage and record myself talking about something I'm thinking about, throw it on my computer, cut out the uhs and the pauses and stuff, or where I'm stopping to think or stopping to remember or look something up. Just cut that stuff out real quick and throw the video up. But I also understand that those videos aren't the most entertaining to watch always. So that is going to be that midweek video, okay? Now my end of week video is going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to be working on a car, doing some detailing, doing maintenance, maintaining bicycles. It's going to be maybe sometimes a little bit more towards teaching, and sometimes a little bit more towards doing some fun stuff. So going out for drives and things like that. Now what this will hopefully allow me to do, what I'm really hoping for, is that these shorter videos, 10-12 minutes of me talking about something, I can knock those out in about an hour. Because, sit down, do a little bit of research if I need to look anything up, record the footage itself, then edit it down, make a thumbnail and all that stuff. So I'm talking hour, maybe hour and a half of work to make that video. And what that does is leave me the entire remainder of the week to make a better quality doing something video, more of an action video. It will take me a little bit of time to get this rolling. I'll do the hand things. It'll take me a little bit of time to kind of find my footing in making those types of videos. Now those types of videos, they take longer to edit. There's going to be like B-roll, more B-roll and different things. I've done videos with some B-roll and stuff, but it's just, if I'm like talking about this certain car, then I'm going to try to have some footage from it, of that car from online, or if I have the car that I'm talking about, some footage of like walking around the car and different things. And here's where we switch to a different topic. Oh geez, so something I saw the other day, I don't remember the name of the channel, and I really want to give props to them because I like their video, but It's these two guys. One's got a C4 Corvette, and one's got a new Edge Mustang, and they bought them cheap, and they're doing challenges with them and stuff. And they took them down to Florida and had Ed Bullion and Freddie Hernandez, Tavares, kind of look over them and, you know, kind of pick their favorite car and different stuff. And even though like Ed picked the Mustang, I didn't see what Freddie picked. The video was actually kind of frustrating to me. They were just, both of them were just crapping on the Mustang because it's a Mustang. And that irritates me. Obviously I have these Mustangs, but that it's not that I have them that irritates me. I'd feel the same way if I had a Trans Am or a Corvette or whatever. Mustang's a great car. Mustang is a great car. So like this Mustang that's in this video, the paint's rough and everything, and it's got built engine, supercharger, T56, built rear end. Mechanically, it's solid. Now sure, the suspension could probably use some updates to make it handle better. It really doesn't take that much to make these cars handle well enough for the street. It takes quite a bit of money to take one out on a road course or a autocross and be competitive. $5,000-$6,000. And I look at that and I'm like, hey, $5,000-$6,000, that's a lot. But when you're talking about like you bought the car for $5,000, you put $5,000 or $6,000 in it outside of tires and stuff like that. But then you have a car that can keep up with cars that are $25,000-$30,000 on an autocross. Yeah, it's still a value proposition. It's still a good thing. But they were kind of hating on him and stuff. And, you know, Tavares was saying something like, you know, he had a previous generation and it was just whatever the Corvette was, the Corvette's a better car. That irritates me to no ends. Because, and what Matt Farah says the same thing, like, he was really, I remember when Farah drove a fairly stock 0304 Mach 1 and was actually fairly impressed with it, like, oh, you know, this is doing better than I expected. And I'm not saying he thought it was great, but it was a lot more than he thought of it. And because he always kind of goes back to that SN95 he had when he's talking about Mustangs of that era. And then Tavares was doing the same thing. And I'm sitting here like those cars were not that fast. They were not that quick in a straight line, but nothing was back then, okay? Yeah, the LT1 cars were quicker, and then the LS1 cars were a little quicker, you know, all those things. The reason SN95 Mustangs were considered horrible by so many people was not their straight line performance. It was that they essentially had marshmallows for springs. Because I've talked to multiple people about this that have had those cars, and I've heard tons of people online talk about them. It always comes down to, oh, it just felt horrible and floaty, and it wallered all over the place. Springs are too soft. I don't have it pulled up right now, but, you know, I've got the big spring rate chart. It'll actually be the spring rate chart. I'm going to talk about that. It'll be in the video description. I have a shareable Google Sheets document that has all of the OE springs from 79 to 04. It has the aftermarket springs that I could find with spring rates and drop amounts. It has coilover conversion rates. So if you actually want to look at not just the spring rate, but the wheel rate, right, for a stock conventional location spring versus coilover spring, of what those differences are. And then you can compare front and rear coilover rates. And then I've got IRS springs and IRS coilover rates. All of that in this big spreadsheet, and it's a small spreadsheet. I used to do spreadsheets, multiple million data points and all kinds of stuff, but really it's a small sheet, but it's all very clear and concise of what it is. There's, you know, kind of instructions on how to read it and look at it and stuff in the top. So yeah, you check out the video description to find that chart, and you can just have a handy dandy reference for Mustang suspension stuff. Anyway, SN95s had marshmallow springs. Those cars were never going to be that quick with the horsepower they had. But if they had springs in them that actually controlled the car somewhat, and then stiffer dampers too, I honestly think they would be more well regarded now. Everybody that had them, they were just like these floaty, floppy suspension things. And even the power, you know, 220 or whatever horsepower, would have felt better if the car was stiffer sprung and had better suspension. It just would have been better. Okay? Now, I personally think that if Ford was going to continue that triangulated 4-link rear suspension, they should have gone ahead and done a stiffer lower rear control arm and stiffer bushings. It doesn't really impact the ride that much, and I'm sure their computers in the car could detect more in VH. I'm doing quotations because I've made changes to my cars, and I'm very picky about these things, and I've noticed no difference. I take my upper isolators out off the top of my springs in the front. I leave the ones in the rear because I have noticed difference there. But take the top ones out in the front, I noticed no difference in sound or vibration harshness with the chassis. Maybe it's there somewhat. It's not worth worrying about. If you're going to make a sportier car, make a sportier car. And I get that the Mustang GT was kind of never really supposed to compete. This is gonna blow some people's minds right here. The Mustang GT was never really supposed to compete with the V8 Camaros and Firebirds in the 90s and 2000s. It wasn't for that. It was a grand touring car for people that wanted a nice, stout enough V8 fun car. There was always the Cobra, and the Cobra was priced similarly to a Trans Am WS6 or a Camaro Z28 or even like the SS version that was modified, kind of like the Trans Am Firehawks. The Cobra's price was typically kind of between the Z28 and Trans Am WS6 and then like the Firehawk and the SS. And that was the car that was supposed to compete with the LT1 and LS cars, the 4-valve cars. Yeah, the 2 valves were never, even though, in magazines, and I understand they were similar price points and everything, but they were never supposed to compete with those cars because it wasn't the same type of thing. But even the Cobra's springs were way, way, way too soft. See, in my opinion, the springs that were on the Bullet, the 600-pound front and 250-pound rear, those same spring rates were on the Mach 1, and the 600-pound fronts were also on the 0304 Cobra. In my opinion, that should have been the base spring for a GT. And then what you do beyond that is you take those stiffer springs and then, I'm talking even back in the 90s, okay? That should have been the base spring, and then you try to change how the car feels with dampers. That's me. That's personally what I want. I've got a buddy that has a, is it a 2000 or 2001? I think it's 2000. He has a 2000 Mustang GT, completely stock. Has new shocks and struts in it and everything, and he hates how it rides. It's always been a horrible ride and blah, blah, blah. His dad bought this car new. He bought it from his dad, painted it, engine needed rebuilt, put a new engine in it. It sits in his garage most of the time. It's his backup car and kind of weekend car or whatever. But he says, it rides horribly. And I'm like, you're on 440, 450-pound front springs and 210-pound rear springs. That's soft for a sporty car. And so, obviously that's why Ford would have made the car softer to reach a broader audience, and it worked. It worked because the Mustangs in the new Edge era, so 99 to 02, because that's the last year of the F-body in that era, Mustangs outsold all F-bodies, so all Camaro and Firebird variants combined. Mustangs outsold them 4-1, and in some years closer to 5-1. Ford's approach worked. They sold way more cars, but from a performance car guy standpoint, they need a couple thousand thrown at them to be, something fun. Now, back to them kind of hating on the Mustangs. I've made videos before, and you can go look on my channel of why those cheap plastic interiors are actually amazing. And it's because, my car, I got 2 cars out there that are 25 years old, okay? 2 2001s. The interiors are fine. They're in great shape. The dashes are fine. There's no cracks. The only kind of issue I'm having is the cove in the door, like where your arm would sit. The vinyl's the glue's kind of letting loose and pulling away right there. So in 2002, I bought a 1977 Trans Am, okay? It was a 25-year-old car. Had right around 100,000 miles on it. The engine had already been rebuilt. The interior I had to replace the door panels, all the vinyl on the seats, the carpet, the headliner, and repaint all the plastics because they were bad. And this was a car with tinted windows and louvers on the back windows so sun didn't come in on the back, right? And it was still, at 25 years old, the same age as 2 of my Mustangs. I'd get in either one of my Bullets right now and run cross country. I might run into a problem, but I can get the part, it'd be easy fix, and I can do it on the side of the road with a cheap set of tools. That 77 Trans Am, at 25 years old, it needed a full restoration. The passenger seat fell through the floor as soon as we got it home. That aside, let's get back to them kind of hating on Mustangs. I'm getting real tired of rich-ish people saying how good Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Mercedes and BMWs and all these cars are, when a Ferrari, that 599 that Tyler Hoover had, it needed $10,000 in service every year, even from when it was new. Just to keep it on the road, it needed $10,000 in service, and you couldn't even go 3,000 or 4,000 miles without something major breaking on that car. Guys, I'm not going to cuss. I want to cuss. But let me tell you, it might be nice. It might be luxurious. It might be fairly quick. But it's a giant piece of crap. If a car can't go more than a few thousand miles without needing thousands of dollars in maintenance, it sucks. It's a piece of crap. I don't have any interest in that. BMWs and Mercedes are better, but guess what? They're pieces of crap. They don't last very long. And when they do have to work on them, even if you can get the parts, they're way more expensive than Ford and Chevy. Now, maybe in Europe, the parts aren't more expensive. I'm sure it's opposite. You can get the parts real easy, and over here, over there, it'd be harder to get Ford and Chevy parts. They're hard to work on. They break constantly. I mean, I said this in a post the other day. I was like, they're only made to make it to the third owner. Okay, you got your first owner that leases it, owner, right? The second person buys it from the dealership and then trades it back into the dealership to buy another used one from the dealership. That third owner, they don't care. That car's hit 85,000 miles, and they're just broke. Obviously, there's going to be some outliers. There's going to be some good ones and stuff. And if I had a fat chunk of change, I would buy an E46 M3. There was a time where I really wanted one. I don't really want one now. But I would simply buy it for the channel to use as a comparison car, because so many people hold that car in such really high regard that I would use that to try to get through to people when, hey, I rented a racetrack and this Mustang with a few $1,000s in mods that overall costs a third of what this BMW did, has same lap times or faster, because I could easily make a new Edge get faster lap times than an E46 M3. Obviously, you can say, well, you could mod the E46 M3, right? Yes, of course. But if this car costs $25,000 and I've modded this car and it only costs $18,000 at this point, I'll take the cheaper one. It's cheap old cars and corners, right? I don't know. That I got really irritated by that, by them crapping on the Mustangs, and partly too because that Mustang has taken more abuse than any of their cars have. Now, I'm not talking about Tavares's cars that have been wrecked and caught on fire and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about in terms of driving them. That Mustang has taken so many abuse from so many owners over 20-something years. Oh, geez, what Ed frustrated me, Ed Bullion, when the guy was like, yeah, it's 2004, 40th anniversary, and Ed goes, woohoo. Most people don't have money. Since we went off the gold standard in 71, our rate of income per what crap costs has been going further and further away. You would have to make, what is it, $200 an hour, 40 hours a week, $8,000 a week to have the same purchasing power in gold, okay, that you had at minimum wage in 1971. I'm not hating on people for making money, but any person that craps on a Mustang because they made a lot of Mustangs, or craps on a Corvette because they made a lot of Corvettes, is an arrogant prick that needs to check themselves. You know why those old guys in their jean shorts and their white New Balance shoes are so proud of their Corvette? You know why? Because they supported their wife. They supported their kids. They got the house paid off. They took a HELOC on the house to build a garage and do other things they needed to do. They finally, at 50-something years old, of doing a basic normal job, because guess what? Most people are of average intelligence to lower intelligence. Obviously, it's a bell curve, right? But if you take the average range and you take the below average range, that's most people. There's a small amount of people that are below average, and there's a small amount of people that are above average, and most people fall into the average range. What you have is some people that either through hard work or working the system well or shrewd negotiations or whatever have made it to a higher income. They're not any better people than people who worked their entire lives and finally near retirement were able to buy an affordable sports car that they wanted since they were a kid. Just because someone got there to where they could have a Lamborghini in their 30s doesn't mean they're a better person. Now, this crap really irritates me, because there's a lot of stuff where people do think that they are a better person because they were able to make more money in a certain amount of time. No, sorry. You're not. And if you think you are, you're not my people. And you're honestly not someone I would ever really want to be friends with. It's really, I'm finding it really frustrating, to the point that I'm really thinking about not continuing to watch a lot of the automotive YouTubers that I watch. Because no matter how humble they were in the beginnings, and how, how they worked their way into it, when you see them go down to Miami and ship all their cars down to Miami and wander around hobnobbing with a bunch of finance bros, it's just douchey. It's just really off-putting to watch people, no matter where they came from in terms of their beginnings, humble beginnings or not so humble beginnings, whatever, but shipping their cars down to Miami for that recent show down to Miami, that was the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge too, right? I was getting real frustrated because all of them were like, yeah, there's tickets available, come on down, and all this stuff. And you see the video, and it's all just little TikTok kids and finance bros and just scumbaggy people. They got probably more money than I do, but they're scumbags. It's just not my people, man. The arrogance gets me. That's what it is, really, more than anything, the arrogance. These people, once they get to a certain level of money, and yeah, let's say they had a very humble beginning, and they reached this certain point, and now it's like, oh, well, they're driving a Mercedes every day back and forth to work because it's just better and classier, and they look better in it and different things. You hit an arrogance point where I'm just not interested at all. I hope this doesn't come across as jealousy, because it's really not. Were I to have a lot of money, I would buy a nicer car. I would keep my 04 Silverado, but I would make it lower and more kind of radical. I would get myself an 04 to 06 Silverado SS. Maybe even the Dale Earnhardt edition. Not really a NASCAR guy, okay? But I like special editions of basic vehicles. I've talked about that before. And so a special edition of a basic vehicle, right up my alley. I would have a Silverado SS. I'd probably buy myself a C5 Z06. Maybe even a C6 Grand Sport. Maybe wait for those to get a little cheaper. I don't see any point, even with all the money in the world, of buying European cars that break all the time. And then, you could say, well, there's some of them that are investments, and you buy them at this price, and you can sell them at this and make a lot more money and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, there are people who hit that and do well with that. There are more people that miss and lose money, and you just don't hear those stories. Stopped watching Matt Farrell a long time ago because he was way too arrogant for me. I'm thinking Freddie and Hoovie, I might stop watching them as well. Been watching those guys for years. Still watch Cletus as much money as he has, and I think he has quite a bit more than some of these other guys I'm watching. He seems to be able to keep it down to earth. Yeah, he's got nice stuff. I mean, got a Porsche 911 turbo. I don't know if it's a turbo, but he's got. Yeah, it has turbos on it, but I don't know if it's the turbo model. I don't know. Whatever. The guy's got nice stuff. Has an airplane and helicopters, all kinds of things. Has a 5-second Camaro that was hundreds of thousands of dollars, but he seems to be able to keep it level-headed. He employs a ton of people and has multiple businesses, and I gotta respect that. Doesn't seem arrogant is kind of where I'm going with this. Arrogance is that kills any enjoyment I have for watching anyone. If they're too good for something, then I am obviously not their target audience. I might make a video of trying to diagnose the window issue on the Mach 1, because I need to do that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe. If you want to see a dude trying to prove that cheap old cars are actually better than expensive cars in a lot of ways, keep watching, because these Mustangs don't like to break. Check out the merch store, link in bio and in the video description. Check out my 79 to 04 Mustang spreadsheet in there. And also, hey, click on my Corbeau link. I'm a Corbeau brand ambassador, right? So go out buy a Corbeau seat. You know why? But because they're really nice seats. See you guys in the next one.